When I was growing up, I have believed that people from the Levantine region are very rough in their behavior. I've believed that they're naturally very aggressive when dealing with people. When dealing with people who are not from their own kin, basically dealing with foreign people. So this belief that I had this opinion that I had was formed from my personal experience. When I used to go and play football in the park, these kids used to come up to me and, take my ball and run away and stuff like that. So I believed as a kid that they're very aggressive and rude, and I tried to stay away from them. And that was not a good thing. That really was not a good thing. I avoided them as much as I could, and I used to stay away from them because I had this fear inside of me that they would come and hit me, or they would come and take my ball and run away. As I grew up and I began observing them with a bit more maturity, I realized that they are very nice people and they are very kind as well. But they're very kind when they behave with people they know or among themselves. And when I was in a gathering, I heard from someone that they are a bit aggressive and a bit rough with people who are foreign because of their suffering, because the way that they are brought up in their home country, where there's a lot of tribulations happening. So naturally, when they're born into such a circumstance, a belief that everyone who's foreign is my enemy is automatically built into them. Not necessarily it's going to be very evident, but that thing might be there inside of them because of the kind of situations that they've come through. And when I learned history, I realized even more why they behave in such a way. So the opinion that I had for a big part of my life was completely false. And I had to admit that I have to stop judging them based on how they behave with me and ask the question, why are they behaving in such a way? So an opinion doesn't become true just because you've had it for a long time. Think of an opinion that you've had when you were 15. It can be about politics, it can be about relationships, it can be about life in general. You did not arrive at those conclusions after careful investigation or after observing a particular group of people for a very long time scientifically. You might have had that opinion based on one encounter with one person, or based on some documentary that you've watched, or a YouTube video that had a huge influence over you. You would have formed opinions from your parents, from your friends, from your family, from your neighborhood, from the park that you're going, and from the society that you live in, or even maybe from a very embarrassing moment that you've had in your life. The problem, however, is when you arrive at these conclusions and you believe that this is the ultimate truth, or rather you believe that this is how the entire world thinks, or this is the reality. Whereas it's your own reality, and it not necessarily is the reality of everyone else. The problem is, it might be just experiences that you've had in your own life with just a philosophical clothing. Some of your strongest opinions are just old memories. As humans, we form opinions, and it gets stronger and stronger over time from mere experiences. Very often, you are not the person that forms your opinion. Your opinions are formed from different informations, different knowledges, different encounters with different people in your life. Imagine if you were to meet the person you were 5 years ago and you had a brief conversation for, let's say, 10 to 15 minutes over different aspects of life. I bet that you would disagree with a major part of the opinions of yourself 5 years ago. And that is completely normal. The truth is, we as humans evolve and our opinions keep changing over time. And that is meant to happen. But to acknowledge that, yes, my opinions have an expiry date is very important. I think if you're constantly learning and observing and exploring different things at all times, your opinions will change, and it has to change. You're not going to be the same person at your 20s and the same person at your 30s. It will definitely change as you evolve and your mentality, your brilliance has a growth. Let's say a person boasts that I have the same opinions that I've had 10 years ago and I haven't changed a bit. If someone says that, it doesn't mean that he is a very brilliant person and his intellectual stability is amazing. It just means that he is stagnant and he hasn't grown. You don't owe your younger self permanent loyalty. One of the hardest things that a person has to accept will be that I'm wrong. It's very hard to say I'm wrong or I was wrong and I accept that I was wrong. It's very hard to accept it. Whenever there's a debate going on, people would like to defeat the person on the other side by saying, you believe that, you used to say that. So the person on the other side will naturally feel very uncomfortable in accepting and admitting that he was wrong. And we confuse admitting to losing. We think admitting that we're at fault is like losing a big debate and our entire existence is shattering down. So maybe the only thing that's standing between you and your intellectual growth is your pride. Because when you have pride in saying, I'm always right, it's very hard to grow as a person. It's very hard for your mental growth. However, that said, certain things are not to be changed. Certain values that you learn in your first standard in school, or rather your first class in school, is as relevant as it was when you reach your final class in school. It is as relevant when you finish your graduation. It's as relevant when you finish your life. Those are universal truths, such as honesty, such as saying the truth, such as being kind, being merciful, such as being empathetic and sympathetic towards people. So the point is not to be permanently uncertain of our thoughts, of our values. The point is opinions will have to change in your life, or the opinions are meant to be changed. And that's why they're opinions and not facts. The relevance of this is at its peak living in the age of social media. Because when you're living in the age of social media, you are continuously seeing things that you want to see. And you think these are facts. You begin to think these are the ultimate truths. And that is very harmful. And social media can basically form your opinions as well. But you don't have space in social media for criticism or for challenges for your own opinions, because you're following the people who already agree with you. Your feed is filled with things that are already in alliance with your perspectives. So by watching a lot of reels and shots, whenever you see something, you're not asking, is this true? What you're asking is, does this thing agree with me? If it doesn't, you go and report it. Or if it doesn't, you just go into the settings and click, I'm not interested. Because you don't want your mentality to be challenged. So the moment an opinion becomes part of your identity, accepting that I'm wrong feels entirely like a self-destruction. Because if you are merging this opinion with your identity, as long as that opinion is not valid, your identity is irrelevant. So you have a huge identity crisis, and it gets even harder to accept that you are at fault. I'm not saying every opinion you have is going to be irrelevant. A lot of them are going to stay with you until your last breath. However, a lot of your opinions will stay, and maybe some of your opinions will have to expire with maturity, with time, with age, or maybe with some challenges that you'll have to face, some intellectual challenges. So that said, thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video.